Cái đi gì đây? So you have to zoom into this as well later, right? You have to turn it on. You adjusted already? Oh. You didn't clean the statue at all. I still see dust in my fingers. Okay, not now. Later, you have to dust the statues and keep them clean. BB oil to clean it. Okay? Or simply use distilled water. Yeah. So do distilled water first, okay, with a microfiber, okay, and you clean it. Okay. First of all, take a microfiber, dampen it, okay, spray a little bit dampen, and to dust it. Okay, and then the next is you dampen a little bit more, and now you clean the dust, the dirt. And after you're done, then use a baby oil to protect it. Okay. All right. Well, hello everyone. Thank you all for joining us. I appreciate it. Today, there's a lot of things happening, but I'd like to share with you some great news, some wonderful things that happened to us. That is, I'm very pleased to share with you that we have some new additions to Wei Mountain Temple altar. Wei Mountain Temple, we got this about, 4 or 5 years ago. And until today, we still have no sign that says Wei Mountain Temple. We still have a cross on top of the tower. So if you drive by, you cannot tell this is a Buddhist temple at all, except for some Buddhist flags and maybe a statue of Earth-store Bodhisattva in front. That's how we are in terms of can we say no mark? Chan temple? No name, nothing at all. So anyway, and turns out we also were planning on having a 1,000 heads and eyes statue here for the last 4 years, and it didn't work out. We got cheated. So it was a total failure for my part, my biggest failure at Wei Mountain Temple so far. But also the last couple of years or so, the last 2-3 years or so, we decided to step it up. It's because when I first started, I was merely experimenting because my Chinese teacher told me to teach. He never taught me how. So I had to experiment. And the first thing, of course, you don't know what to do, and you stick to the same thing that had worked for my teacher before. Because I could tell that his way of training was so successful that he was able to produce a lot of advanced students. if you will, advanced disciples. So I said, if I could do the same thing, then I would be very, very happy. And since I didn't know what to do, I stuck to what he did, whatever he taught, in order to train his disciples. And it worked pretty well up until the past 4 or 5 years. And then I realized that my disciples were surpassing his disciples. So something had to change. And finally, I decided that in order to help my disciples, now I call it American Mahayana, I needed to step it up and get out from under his shadow so that I could teach my own disciples and not worry about him anymore, not look in the rearview mirror or anymore, because we need to have something for the third generation. What he did, Master Shenhua left, was for the second generation, my generation. But I feel it's still not good enough for the third generation of Mahayana. That's why I call it American Mahayana, because my generation is basically Chinese Mahayana, second generation. Third generation will be American Mahayana. Some of the Mahayana that's custom tailored for the 21st century, in the future. In what sense? In the sense that the Chan technology has to train people to a higher level than the Chinese Chan so far. And also the Pure Land, American Pure Land, has to be much better than the Chinese Pure Land. That's always a sore point with me. Initially, when I first started, I realized that the Asian Pure Land Dharma door is really, really inadequate, in my personal opinion. Okay. So anyway, that's Hui Mountain Temple. The history of Hui Mountain Temple is that we don't care. We never cared about the external marks. Whatever it is, we practice the Weiyang style of practice. But recently, this week, the last few days or so, we've been given some new statues. And something actually has been something even quite wonderful as well, which I'm not allowed to tell you yet, also happened, and eventually I share it with you, I promise, hopefully. But the past few days, we also offered some, without being requested, without being asked, without any one of us doing anything, or dropping hints, or asking for it directly. And we've been offered some new statues for for BLI. And I decided, because of the way it happened, we'll leave it here, a Hui Mountain Temple. So I'd like to share with you the first statue here that we offered is Universal Worthy Bodhisattva statue. You can tell because this Bodhisattva here is typically on the altar of Mahayana Buddhist altars. You see them. This is Chinese style. I don't think I was in Korea that they do this often. Sunim, so you have to correct me. Huh? Or Koreans. Would you like to say something about this? I feel that the Korean altars, you worship a lot of statues and images, but you don't have it like the Chinese style where we actually do the Universal Worthy Bodhisattva statue, okay? And because you can tell, because Universal Worthy is in Mahayana, symbolizes the practice, Mahayana practices. All Mahayana practices are based upon the universal worthy conduct, which we'll elaborate more when we explain chapter 40 of the Avatamsaka Sutra, a lot more, okay? And so Universal Worthy rides on an elephant, and the elephant here has 6 tusks. And the significance is that in the history of mankind, the elephant is regarded, especially the older history of mankind. Elephant was regarded as invincible weapon. When you go to war, you ride an elephant. In the folklores of the stories of prior lives of the Buddha, there were elephants were considered national treasures. It's like one elephant can defeat the entire armies of the enemies, and therefore elephants were like invincible, if you will. So it's a fearsome beast that the Bodhisattva has at his disposal in order to do his work. And this elephant here has 6 tusks. The tusks are the weapons of the elephant. And so 6 tusks here symbolize the 6 paramitas of Mahayana. What does it have to do with chant? You don't realize it. The reason that Mahayana chant is far superior to Hinayana, because the chant practice, the way we train you, is based on the 6 paramitas. Okay, this is why we can systematically produce talents. It's not a haphazard thing. Not like you have to spend a lot of time, like the Hinayana practices where they need to grind it out for many, many years and isolate themselves. In Mahayana practice, in a chant practice in particular, we don't necessarily need to go through the style that most people who learn meditation learn. That is, they grind it out. Either they do walking meditation or sitting meditation and so forth, but their style of practice is predicated upon grinding it out. You sit longer and longer, or stand longer and longer, walk longer and longer, and so forth. And we're talking about what longer means. Longer means years, decades. Okay, and so what's the difference? The significance is that you look at the predecessor, Master YongHua, he really was practicing on his own. So since he didn't have a good no advisor, so he went to the mountains and he practiced chant in a hut. And that's a style, what I call Hinayana Mahayana style, where you isolate yourself in the wilderness, in the mountains, the valleys, or could be in your own temples, behind 4 walls. Okay, and you grind it out. You meditate, you do chanting, whatever. So that's what I call Hinayana Mahayana, because they practice Mahayana skills, but they grind it out like Hinayana style. Okay, and that's why, because of that process of training, you will only attain Hinayana wisdom, level wisdom, within Mahayana, that is. Okay, and whereas in Mahayana, if you understand the chant training in Mahayana, which is based on the 6 paramitas, you don't always have to grind it out. There's times to grind it out, like we will at the end of the year, where we will eventually, very quickly here, within a couple of months, we start doing our 10-week of cheese, year-end cheese. Okay? And where we grind it out. And that's a process where you do apply it, the proper methodology. We will also be a lot faster than the Hinayana or Hinayana Mahayana style of training, if you will. Okay, so what I'm trying to impress upon you is that in Mahayana Chan, our training, the secret of our training is based on the 6 paramitas, okay? And that's why we're able to produce talents, very, very great talents for Mahayana, especially in our times, okay? So that's the significance of this statue, is that without being asked, without scheming, they're offered to us and freely, and this is, to me personally, is a reinforcement, that is an encouragement, that is to continue. We should continue in our American style of Chan training that is based on the 6 paramitas. Okay, and again, I'm very pleased with the offering, and I'm also very pleased with the efforts that many of you here have been doing the last few years, and that made me very hopeful that for the 3rd generation, there's hope that it will be, there's some future for Mahayana that I think you can look forward to. Okay, and again, Universal Worthy Bodhisattva symbolizes the Mahayana practices. Okay, and to me, this is an encouragement that we should continue. It should also mean something to you as well. Continue in your practice, continue, apply efforts, because what we're doing is Mahayana Chan practices based on universal worthy conduct or practices. Okay, so it's very significant, if you will. Okay, this is an encouragement for all of us. Let's continue, okay, and work hard. And the next one, it comes in a pair, and if I could ask that we bring on the other statue. This is a Chinese Mahayana style, if you will. This tells you this is our appreciation of the teaching, of the emphasis. These statues we put up on the altar carry a purpose. It's not a casual thing where we chose this and that for that reason. For example, the other practices where they worship the gods and the spirits and the bodhisattvas for whatever the reasons, is because they benefit from those Dharma doors. For us, we benefit greatly from the 6 paramitas that Universal Worthy Bodhisattva taught us. Basically, he said that if you want to become a Buddha, the fastest way, okay, to become a Buddha, the principal form of practice in Buddhism are the paramitas. Nothing's beyond paramitas, including that if you teach Chan, Chan is totally based on the paramitas, if you will. Okay, and eventually, when it's time for me to go, I will explain more clearly to the next teachers. Unlike my master, who left a lot of things unsaid, a lot of things unexplained, I will explain everything I know, okay, by the time I leave. So you make sure I don't die of an accident. Don't throw me under the bus yet. Okay? Because once I'm done, if I tell you everything, then I can retire and do anything I please. Okay? But for many of you, you're not quite ready for the unveiling yet. And the second statue is that statue here, you see. I don't know what the Chinese call this animal here. I thought it's a lion, but it's not. Some sort of animal here. Okay? What do the Chinese call this? Do you know? Huh? Chinese people, help us out. What is this called? some sort of, it's not quite a lion, it's not quite a tiger, but it's a mix, okay? It's also a very fearsome animal. Anyone? Chinese people, come on, look it up. What is it?
Master.
Yeah.
It should be 麒麟.
Yeah, it sounds right. Something like that.
麒麟.
Jilin. Ji is auspicious, right? What is Jilin? So share with us what you know about Jilin. Yeah, that sounds very, very familiar. Yeah. Vietnamese lung. Huh? Kỳ lân. Qi is strange. Qi is strange. Kỳ lân, strange. Lin is some sort of animal. Okay, so what is Chinese people? Help us out. What is Jilin? What's the story about Jilin? Huh? Share with us. Look it up. What is it? Jilin. You can tell that the Chinese, culturally speaking, they are lovers of strange animals. Elephants must have 6 tusks, and Jilin would, look like nothing else. Huh? Okay, share with us, please. I never asked before because my Chinese is no good. I couldn't do a lot of research. But now that we have all these wonderful Chinese students, they could share with us their knowledge, or Korean or Vietnamese or whoever. Actually, I saw this style of statue some times ago at the Buddhist statue stores, and I found them to be horribly expensive. That's why I didn't dare, I didn't want to get them. I'm cheap. So I remember one time I went to some sort of Buddhist stores where they have a lot of statues. I saw this particular style of statues. So they made an impression on me. And I asked for the price. I said, oh, that's too much. I can't even afford to buy cars. But, we need more cars and statues. Anyway, so Jilin, come on, Chinese people, speak up. Korean, come on. Don't be shy. It also is very significant because first, on one end, you have the universal worthy, which says if you want to practice it all, this is what you need to do, the paramitas. And then the other side of it is Manjusri, why Manjusri? But I'm first, before I tell you that, and then you understand why, then I want to find out about this Jilin here. I don't know, I've always wanted to learn more about Jilin, but never could. The Chinese, you can tell, they're so slow. For us Americans, we're so fast. We look it up and, for us, like, yes, go ahead. Kigu.
I literally just got this off of Wikipedia just then, but apparently it's correlated with the arrival or the passing of a sage. And just from the top of my memory, I think that I read somewhere that Master YongHua, when he talked about Confucius, I think he saw a qilin somewhere in China, and then, I don't know, I think it signaled his imminent death or something.
Qilin?
I'm not too sure there.
Oh, you are so... Are you depressed by any chance? We're talking about life. Why are you talking about death? Okay, but thank you. Thank you for trying. Next, Zhi Hong.
Thank you, Master. I looked up in the Chinese version of Google. It says that qilin is an auspicious beast in the Chinese traditional legend. It is a combination of it has the features of 4 kinds of beasts. It is said to have the head of a sheep,
A sheep.
the feet of a wolf, and it has, it has the feet of a wolf.
The claws, not
And
the feet.
the crown of its head, the crown of its head is round, circle. The
Okay.
top of his head is circle. And its body has colors, and it is as high as 2 meters.
The body is what? I
In
couldn't.
addition to these features,
The body. Repeat the body.
colorful body. The body
Colorful? Is it
is like a
colorful?
deer.
A deer body.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
colorful body.
Powerful body, okay.
And a tail like that of a dragon.
Tail of a dragon. Wow. Quite a strange animal.
Yeah, it's a dragon's tail.
So it's very, what is it supposed to do? Is it bring
and it
auspiciousness?
Yes, it's considered to be auspicious. There are 5 auspicious beasts in Chinese tradition:
I see.
dragon, phoenix, turtle, pixiu, and this qilin.
I see. Okay.
It also has a pair of horns.
Is a horn or look like pig's ears? The kind that you eat? Never mind. Okay. Wow. So it's
And also on its body, dragon's scales. Can you see that on the statue? Dragon's scales on the qilin's body.
no. They omitted that detail. Okay. Maybe in the next iteration. Yes. Go ahead. Thank you, Chu Hong. Anything else? Okay. Very good. Thank you. Yes. What's qilin?
We have a correction from the donor of the
Okay.
的文殊师利菩萨骑的是狮子
Shuzu.
It's a lion. It's in the sutra. 不是麒麟
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Qilin is the one that usually what you see in front of the statue you put in front of the temple, maybe the doors, the stairs. But Manjushri rides a lion, right?
Rides
Shuzu.
lion. So it is a lion.
It is a lion.
Yeah.
Okay. The Vietnamese
It's
think.
in the sutra.
Okay.
According to our donor.
Okay, fine. So, thank you. So the correction is that actually it's a lion, and actually has more lion features than all the things that Chu Hong mentioned. Maybe it sounds more, it describes more of some of the statues I saw in front of the temple stairs going up. They have 2 big animals that guard the entrance. They look more like a qilin than this case here. In this case here, they look like more lions. Okay, thank you for the correction. I think it makes sense. Okay, so yes, I remember the Manjushri is always riding the lion, not the qilin. You Vietnamese confuse Vietnamese people. Okay. So thank you. So anyway, so Manjushri is very important because all the practices of so what happened in the Avatamsaka Sutra, good wealth Bodhisattva, the pure youth Bodhisattva called good wealth, he came to Manjushri and says, I want to become a Buddha. And Manjushri says, In order for you to become a Buddha, I need to send you to these teachers who will teach you what you need to do. So that's started the path of good wealth, going from one good no advisor, the first one that taught him how to reach first ground Bodhisattva after millions of years of practice. And then after he's done with that particular teacher, that teacher says, for you, next for you is go to this teacher. And he went to the next teacher who taught him how to reach second ground Bodhisattva. So basically, Manjushri is the one who got him started, who saw the pathways for him. He says, these are the teachers you need to go see. So therein symbolizes the path or the practice of enlightenment. That is, you go look for someone who can train you, who can teach you how to open those types of wisdom. Okay? So that's the symbol of Manjushri. Manjushri says, all the practices of universal worthy Bodhisattva will bring you to the level of wisdom that I have. Okay? So eventually it brings you to first ground Bodhisattva, second ground, third, fourth, and so forth, all the way up to Buddhahood. So Manjushri is the promoter. He advocates that we need to open our practice wisdom. And practice wisdom has three components, if you will. Number one, this is not outside of our Chan training. Our Wei Yang training, as Master Wei Shan or Yang Shan trained their people again, is totally based on the 6 paramitas. Okay? Whatever they taught their disciples are not beyond the 6 paramitas. Okay? If you understand that, then you'll be able to train your disciples very well, all the way up the chain. Okay? Well, up the ladder. However, Manjushri, he says, when you reach those levels of attainment through universal worthy Bodhisattva practices, you will be able to open your practice of wisdom at various levels. Okay? And so Manjushri says, your practice of wisdom that you unfold on paramita number 6, or the practice of wisdom, is actually like this. What does it look like? He says, practice of wisdom has 3 components: literary prajna, number 2, contemplative prajna, and number 3, real mark prajna. Okay, and I'm very pleased to tell you that the reason I'm very excited about your new crop of people. First of all, I'm very grateful for all my disciples who've been stuck with me through thick and thin the last 15 years, last 16 years. I'm a horrible teacher. I am stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. I experimented a lot, and therefore I offended a lot of you. And for you to stick around and endure it speaks very highly of you. But also there's a fact that when you practice Chan, or you practice Mahayana, the purpose is to help you unfold your practice of wisdom, which are 3 components. The first one is literary prajna, where that is something that you acquire. This is something you must be acquired through listening, through learning. So that's what Master YongHua did, my late Chinese teacher. He spent his lifetime primarily promoting and teaching that literary prajna, and he's extremely wise. His level of prajna is very, very high. That's very critical for him to teach, and that's why he has a tremendous treasure in the Chinese language. Okay, if you want that, his store, his prajna level, you need to learn it in Chinese. You cannot learn it in English because the translation of his disciples from his Chinese teaching into English filters out the upper range of the literary prajna, unfortunately. Okay, they cannot translate it into English, and that's why in order for you to understand it, you have to go back to the Chinese. Okay, and this is the drawback in our English-based Mahayana. Okay, Master Xunhua did that. Even in my generation, I still don't understand what he taught. He's a literary prajna, to be honest with you. Okay, so that's why I'm the first one to tell you, you want to go to high level of prajna, you have to learn Chinese. It's not available in English. Okay, that's a fact. You have to go back to the traditional Chinese teaching, Buddhist teaching, in order to acquire it. Okay, and hopefully those in the future, especially third and fourth and fifth generation, you will, if you go back to the Chinese level, you will surpass my level pretty easily. Okay, that's a fact. I'm not hiding anything. I encourage you to do that. Okay, and so that's why Master Xunhua, again, let me assure you, Master Xunhua's prajna, literary prajna, okay, is pretty high. And you need to learn it in Chinese. Do not bother with English. That's my recommendation to you. Okay? You have to learn Chinese. You have to dig back into the Chinese, his Chinese, original Chinese teaching. Because his translation doesn't do justice. It really, translation filters out because the translator's level is too low. Okay? And even if I explain it, if I read it to you, explain it to you, because of my lower level, I also will filter it. So therefore, if you want to surpass me, go back to the Chinese source. Okay? So that's what Master Xunhua did. What he did is very important. He brought the 21st century Chinese prajna wisdom, literary prajna wisdom, and let me assure you, his literary prajna wisdom level is extremely high. Okay, much higher than most Chinese patriarchs. Is that clear? So that's why this has to be said, because this is what he did for us. He brought that Chinese literary prajna to this country and made it available to us through this mountain of tapes that they recorded in his teachings. So I hope in the future that once his disciple, his successor, woke up to it, he will make it available so that others who are much higher than they are will be able to have access to this Chinese literary prajna. It's not meant for them because they don't understand it. They need to make it available to the rest of the world or the future generation. We don't need them to translate it for us even because the level is too low. I wouldn't care for their translation at all. Okay? So you see, I hope that they will preserve these tapes they recorded, but that's what Master Xunhua did. He explained it in Chinese, okay? It's recorded, and they better preserve it. If they didn't, and somehow that literary prajna is not available anymore, it falls upon his successors that they did a great disservice to our 21st century literary prajna wisdom. Okay? I hope it won't happen. It's recorded on magnetic tapes, cassette tapes. It's very fragile. Okay? So you need to make multiple copies and preserve it on the clouds or whatever. So because it's priceless. It's really priceless Chinese literary prajna wisdom. Okay, that's what he did. No one understands it. No one appreciates it. That's the incredible thing he did for us, for Mahayana in general. Okay? Yes, go ahead, Kong.
네, 한국어 유튜브에 올라온 준킴님 질문입니다. 들리시나요? 네, 스님은 깨달음을 증득하신 분이신가요?
There's a question from Korean YouTube. Sunim, were you certified to be enlightened one?
Wow. The first time Korean asked me directly that. What happened to the young Koreans nowadays? Have they no manners anymore? Let me explain about the process of certification so that you understand it once for all. Okay, certification is a process between the master and the pupil. It's only two masters. Okay, and whether it's not meant for anyone else, a third party, to know about it. Okay, and therefore, if Master Xianhua was certified by Master Xu Yun, and he decided to talk about it, that's his choice. Because the patriarchs are supposed to do that in order to do their work. They said, yes, I received the Dharma from the fifth patriarch. For example, Master Huineng said so. Yes, I received the Dharma from the fifth patriarch. That's because he needs to do that so that he can start working as a sixth patriarch. Whether, as far as for myself personally, whether I'm certified or not, is none of your business. I'm not patriarch. I don't want to be a patriarch. I don't care to be a patriarch. I don't like patriarchs. And therefore, I've seen a lot of patriarchs that turn me off. Okay? And therefore, whether I'm certified or not, I can tell you this. I never sought to be certified. Usually in our era, if you are enlightened, you're supposed to go and seek certification. If I did become enlightened, I don't think I am, but if I did become enlightened, I would even not bother go seek certification. Okay? So was I certified? I can answer you, I did not seek to be certified. How is that? But for you, a young person or old person in Korea, to ask the question is not respectful. Okay? You don't ever ask a monk, are you certified? Let them decide to tell you themselves. Okay? And if you ask, then it shows, number one, you're disrespectful. Number two, you're stupid for not knowing, okay? Because you can tell a person from the Dharma that they teach. Okay? So therefore, the question, it's funny, is the first time that Korean YouTube person asked the question, and it's not something that you, third generation, want to ask. Okay, that's not a good thing to do. It speaks very poorly of you. It's how ignorant and shall we say stupid you are for asking such questions. But again, you're stupid. That's why you can ask questions. Okay, you're supposed to ask stupid questions. And then I'm supposed to tell you, that's a stupid question. Okay, I won't even bother answering. Yeah. Okay, so let me go back to this. He writes this line here, Mandrusi Bodhisattva, he personalized, he says, if you practice universal worthy practices, the 6 paramitas, the 10 paramitas. It's the goal of those practices is not beyond opening your practical wisdom. And practical wisdom has 3 components. Literary wisdom, which is the first thing you need to do, meaning that this is why I keep on going back to harping on this point, that Master YongHua brought a pretty high level of literary practical wisdom, that you can listen to it and you can research it in Chinese language. Okay? And that is hopefully still available when it's time for you, when you're ready for it. Okay? I can understand why it's not available for you right now, because you're not quite there yet. Okay? It's okay. But eventually, I pray to God, I pray to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas that they will be made available and they'll be intact. They will not be damaged, because it would be a crime against Mahayana if they get damaged. Okay? Those cassette tapes would be really a serious crime. These people, if they make it happen and let it happen, they will be in big, big trouble. Okay? They'll be stupid for infinite eons. That's how serious it is for them. But we don't worry, because if it's not available, other Mahasattva will come forth and will make it happen. Okay? So anyway, so the first prajna wisdom is literary wisdom. Again, don't have to go very far. Master YongHua made it available, brought it to our country in a long time ago. He spent 60s until 90s, 30 years, so one generation, 30 years, one generation, to transmit it to us, to elaborate it in Chinese. That's why that's one of the most important things that he himself could not explain to my generation, because it's self-promoting. The things that he did, that he could not explain to us, because there's a conflict of interest. He would never do anything to promote himself. So you don't get it, it's your problem. Okay, I'm telling you again, and this literary prajna that he has in Chinese is incredible. It's priceless. Even the little things he said, he explained in the translation that was being translated, a very simple sentences, actually a very profound practical wisdom. Okay, and that's not translated properly. So anyway, so that's the first level of prajna that you need to practice, meaning that you want to practice, learn Mahayana, you need to listen to the highest level of prajna. That's my recommendation to you, meaning that whatever you have been learning so far, whether it's in Korean, whether it's in Vietnamese, whether it's in famous monks and nuns and so forth, I assure you, there's no monk alive I know of, no patriarchs for a long, long time that I'm aware of, who can give you the deep level of literary prajna that Master YongHua has, and therefore we should all consider it to be a priceless treasure in the Chinese language. Learn to treasure it, learn to take advantage of it. Okay? And from your prajna, so we need to start with that. And the second prajna level type of wisdom is contemplative wisdom. Basically, it is very important level of wisdom, because if you read it alone, like the scholars, it's not good enough. Okay? Because it's simply words. Contemplative wisdom is very important because it marks the first level where you are able to penetrate the literary wisdom beyond the words. What happened to literary prajna is that it is limited to the words that are used. Okay? Buddhist wisdom also transcends words. Buddhist wisdom has a wordless component. In Chan, it's called, what is it? 言语道断. Okay, meaning the path of the words and the language come to an end. That's where the contemplative wisdom begins, if you will. If you haven't got the contemplative wisdom, let's say you got a PhD from a university, okay, it's still literary prajna. It's not until you practice Chan, until you practice reciting Buddha's name, until you practice mantras and so forth. That's when you have a chance to step into the world of contemplative wisdom, meaning that you're able to open your wisdom that cannot be expressed by words. Words in literary prajna can only point to the moon. But the moon there, okay, you have to be there to experience it. It cannot be described. Is it clear? That's why it's called contemplative wisdom, because that's a first level where the delineation between dependence upon words, okay, to no more limitations on the language. Okay, that's why Buddhism is not Chinese. Buddhism is not Vietnamese. Buddhism is not Korean. Buddhism transcends ethnicity, transcends languages. Is that clear? So for us, Chan practitioners, I'm very pleased to tell you that the last year or so, even for newcomers, okay, a year and a half, 2 years or so, a lot of people reach high level of practitioner wisdom as well as newcomers reaching contemplative wisdom. It's possible, okay, and that's very encouraging to see such talents. Okay, so this contemplative wisdom, how can you describe it in relation to literary prajna? This contemplative wisdom here is wisdom where you understand emptiness, where there is no more ego. That's a contemplative wisdom of the sound hearers, the wisdom level of the sound hearers. Okay, that's why it's called contemplative, because the only way for you to get there is through contemplation, through Chan practices. Only the Buddhists know. The non-Buddhists don't have such system to develop it at all. So that's why the Buddhists, in particular in Mahayana, we have a systematic way of developing it in Chan. Outside of Chan, there's really no systematic way, as effective way to develop it. That's why in Mahayana, Chan training is key to our propagation, to our training process. You want to train people, Chan is the most direct way, is the most powerful, is the fastest way to train our people. All the patriarchs must understand Chan. That's how important it is. Whether they start, like Master YongHua, they started with tantras. Master YongHua specializes in mantras, but after he got to the mantras, he got the endpoint of mantras practices, he said, this is Chan. Okay, so when he started training people, he started teaching them using Chan techniques, Wei-Yang techniques. So far, so good? Okay, so that's a second level of practice wisdom where you begin to enter the world of the wordless, the unexpressed, okay? And third one, however, even if the second level of prajna is called contemplative contemplative prajna is pretty remarkable, very hard to get to. It still has limitations. It still has issues. Okay? It is considered wisdom, but it still has lots of holes. And therefore, the next level and final level is called real mark prajna. That's a prajna of people who are enlightened. Okay? Where that's Manjushri represents. Okay? That is, he says, when you practice Chan, when you practice Mahayana, the objective is for you to get to this third level of real mark prajna of enlightened people. And that real mark prajna is actually pointed to or described in literary prajna. You see, that's why you have, once you get there, you get the contemplative prajna, for example, you look back in literary prajna you learned before, you say, this has been described already. When you get to real mark prajna, same thing's going to happen to you. You will look back to literary prajna and say, oh, wow, that's what Master Hsuan meant. So that's how you can tell. Okay? That's a connection of the three. You always begin with literary prajna because that's your foundation. That's your prajna seats right there that you will verify later when you get to contemplative prajna or real mark prajna. They are all consistent. Is that clear? So Manjushri here is very important. He says, if you practice universal worthy bodhisattva's practices of conduct, I will secretly guide you to unfold your prajna wisdom. That's what he does. No one knows what he does, but that's what he does invisibly, secretly. You look at the Mahayana teachings, real rarely you see this is what Manjushri does, because everything he does is to invisibly push you along, facilitate you to open your prajna wisdom. So therefore, you don't know. You're not supposed to know what he does. But he secretly, again, I stress, secretly facilitates your opening of your prajna wisdom. So that's why in Mahayana, we worship these two bodhisattvas. They are critical, okay, to facilitate our practices. Universal worthy bodhisattva, riding the six-tusked elephant, he says, these are the things you need to do. And Manjushri, on the other hand, riding a lion, is that he says, when you open your wisdom, prajna wisdom, this is what you understand. I will secretly, this is my personal commitment to you, I will secretly facilitate it for you. Okay? Whether maybe you sit there and all of a sudden you remember, wow, that's what this literary prajna I learned about years ago or lifetimes ago, that's what it means. Okay? So that's why I stress again for all of you. You learn Mahayana, you learn Chan, you learn Pure Land. Okay? You have to pay attention to literary prajna and do that by, I'm really, again, this is my personal bias. I throw away everything you read so far. I would only read the top-notch prajna. This is why I stress Master YongHua's prajna, literary prajna, is top-notch. The best I can think of. All the other patriarchs, Chinese patriarch, like after I read Master YongHua's literary prajna, I chuckled at the fifth patriarch's prajna. I chuckled at Master Xu Yun's prajna, literary prajna. Okay, And that's how advanced Master Xinhua's literary practice is. So why would you want to bother reading anything lower? Okay? Listen to his tapes. Read his books. In Chinese, you can. That's the highest level of literary practice possible. And that's what Manjushri Bodhisattva does. He'll make it available to you, help you understand it. If you aspire to be high level Master Xinhua, okay, go for it. Manjushri Bodhisattva will also facilitate it, make it happen for you as well. That's what we all do. Okay? We're not holding back. We don't want to say that I want you not recite. You understand? It's an obstruction. Beat them up. How dare they? That's why you're there. Okay. So where was I? Okay. So the point here is that none of us is trying to suppress you. We want you to surpass us. It's a personal promise to you. We're not holding back. Okay? Because my entire life, my entire career has been oppressed and suppressed by such people. And I promise you that I would never do it to you. That's not what we do. We facilitate it in the spirit of Manjushri Bodhisattva, okay? That is, we want you to go and be exposed to higher and higher level of prajna, and you can develop it. We help you. That's what we're supposed to do. That's our purpose in life, is help you accomplish it, not suppress you, not oppress you at all. I'd be tickled pink if you surpass me. Yes. 8.
A Di Đà Phật, con có cái rất là thích cái thầy mới giảng đó là đúng. Ở trong kinh Quan Nghiêm hồi đó thầy cho con nhập thất đó, thì con luôn luôn thực hành cái đó là ngài giác thủ dạy ngài Văn Thù này nè, ở tập 1 á. Ngài nói là lục căn lục thức, tất cả rỗng vô tánh. Cứ đúng lý quan sát, tất cả rỗng vô tánh, pháp nhãn bất tư nghì. Hoặc thiệt hoặc chẳng thiệt, chỉ là giả ngôn thuyết. Cái bài kệ ngắn vậy thôi. Ngài giác thủ nói với ngài Văn Thù. Không khá dịch đi.
Master, this is beyond my comprehensions because this is Bodhisattva teaching, so I'll try my best.
Ở trong kinh Quan Nghiêm
is in the Flower Adornment Sutra. I really like what Master just taught us. Is that in Flower Adornment Sutra, Bodhisattva names enlightenment leader taught Manjushri Bodhisattva in the first chapter. Is that the six entrances with the 6 sense just đúng lý,
rỗng vô tánh, emptiness.
Just based on the theory to contemplate, and everything is empty. No self, no nature, and everything will be inconceivable.
Rồi bên Mật Tông thì cái án Bộ Lâm mà trong ngũ bộ chú thầy bắt cho con tụng đó, thì có Bộ Lâm á, là cái chú thứ 5 là gọi là Văn Thù Sư Lợi Nhất Tự Đà La Ni. Thì ngài nói là ngài Văn Thù nói là ai đọc tụng chú này Khi hắn nửa mê nửa ngủ, tôi sẽ đến tôi dạy. Xin hết.
On the other hand, in the secret practice, the five division mantra, the last one called Bu Lin, Bo Lam. The fifth one is called the Manchushri Bodhisattva, one character, Dharani. Whoever reciting this, I will secretly come teach them in the state where they are half awake and half asleep. And that's all. And again, I apologize for misinterpretation of the language.
Okay, so we're running out of time. So I will close out by telling you that Manjushri here is in charge of, is responsible for, is committed to making sure that we develop our practical wisdom and higher and higher until we become a Buddha ourselves. That's his commitment to us. That's why he's very important. So that's why in Mahayana, where I learned from a Chinese, they worship these two Mahasattvas, Universal Worthy Bodhisattva, who's actually a real Buddha. Actually, he's actually a Buddha. He taught us the practices of Mahayana, what we need to do to practice Mahayana. And Manjushri is responsible for helping us open the practical wisdom himself. Okay, so that's why we're very excited to be able to have these two statues that are very auspicious for us. The timing is very appropriate as we begin to embark on propagating our style of American Mahayana. Okay, so this is this is to me personally a certification of an encouragement of the process that I'm very encouraged by it. Okay, by the fact that your progress, the progress that many of you have been making, it's very widespread at all levels. Okay, that's because of the methodology inspired by the 6 paramitas, and then also as far as Manjushri Bodhisattva is concerned, I also many of you are also opening your passion wisdom as well. The real mark wisdom, contemplative wisdom, as well as increasing your literary passion wisdom. All right. I'm sorry I ran over time again, but thank you all for putting up with it, and thank you all for the opportunity to share this very happy moment for me personally. Thank you. See you next time.